Hello and welcome to the Contractpreneurship series, a podcast that delves into the world of contracting and provides insights to commercial and legal professionals of how to unlock value from contracts. Contractpreneurship is a concept I introduced. It brings together an approach, a mindset of how to drive change along the contract lifecycle. A contractpreneur is an entrepreneur, is a transformer and reimagines how things can be done in the world of contracts, thereby unlocking commercial value and driving real, sustainable, profitable growth. I'm Peggy Pauwels, and today you're listening to episode 8, where I'm joined by fellow entrepreneur Filippo Galluccio. Filippo will be sharing his insights around how he and his team have been spearheading contract design innovation for their business and their clients. I'm delighted today to be joined by Filippo Galluccio. He's head of legal, corporate and contracting at Vodafone Italy, and he's an experienced legal counsel, but with a special interest in innovation and change. Filippo, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you very much for the invite. Hello to you and all the people who is listening to us.
Amazing. I am so happy to have found yet another entrepreneurial spirit. I'm sure we've got loads to talk about. But before we dive into the world of contracts, can you share a bit of your career path, the journey that you've been on to get you to the role that you're in at the moment?
Yeah, very briefly, I started my career in private practice where I dealt with M&A and finance. But then I realized I was not satisfied because I felt I was myself the product and I was talking only legalese, while I wanted to be part of the wider organization and make my skill available to a wider organization working for a different purpose rather than selling legal services. I find myself really well in the telco sector. When I moved out from private practice, I moved in-house in Tiscali, a telecom group that at that time, it was 2008, at a very large growth, but then was concentrating and divesting activities to concentrate only on a few markets to have a better investing power. And then I moved out from Tiscali to the Italian subsidiary of the Vodafone Group, Vodafone Italia, where I started doing corporate work, and then I have enlarged my responsibility to contracting in enterprise procurement and also sale and distribution activity and wholesale.
It's fascinating, Filippo, how you have not threatened a conventional path, but really explored how you could apply your legal skills and your legal knowledge into the world of business, but also tap into innovation and change. In your current role, though, you and your team, you're part of the senior leadership team within the organization. And I can imagine with the different types of transactions that you support, that you constantly have to balance working at strategic level as well as operational level. How do you go about that?
Good question, Peggy. Yeah, also as an in-house lawyer, I've been facing over the past year, I think as everybody, they do more with less challenge, where the CFO every year came and tried to push me to be more efficient and cut my budget. So not having the possibility to expand the team, I needed to find ways to concentrate the team to the more strategic and high-value stuff. So I'm taking care of, as you said, both operational work and strategic work. What I have been doing is questioning the way under which we were doing the operational work, and I have been able to find new models of doing this, both leveraging on the shared service center of the Vodafone Group. For example, I've been setting up with the help of Group a team sitting in Budapest, which is supporting my in-house lawyer in providing support to the contracting versus the enterprise customer. I'm also relying on the procurement company in Luxembourg for the contracts related to procurement, and I've been able to empower the internal client in other departments, like for example the sales and distribution team, which have built up a set of people also skilled in law, which are able to run the contracting operation without the involvement of legal. Of course, to do this, you need to change a little bit the mindset of the team, which needs to be very entrepreneurial and need to be broad, able to be curious and face different requests from different internal customers, so very broad, but also deep. So able to go deep into the details of the question and provide an effective legal support to all departments in the company.
That's quite impressive and innovative in itself, how you balance the resource needs and the demand from your business clients, internal and external, with different resourcing models. That's very innovative and indeed, I think, an example of best practice.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we had a challenge when the organization shifted from a waterfall way of developing new products to the agile way of working, where we moved from a situation where we had an internal client which was well educated and there was precise point check to make sure that all the legal and compliance requisites will factor in the product, in a situation where we had more than 40 squads doing different things. So since I couldn't multiply the lawyers, what I was forced to do is basically create engagement rules very clear to map what was going on without having a lawyer in each squad. And also I need to grow up the skills of the team, because we need to be like T-shaped lawyers, broad and deep. So broad in the capacity of detecting around the legal risk, and deep to provide support also to detailed stuff, let's say to our colleagues developing product and doing contracts.
So you make it sound so easy, Filippo, but that's quite a mindset shift, I imagine, to get your lawyers to support those various teams and indeed flex what is their subject matter expertise to adopt to how the business was performing and is performing at that time. Can you share a bit more of how you went about enabling your team to work in that way?
I think there's no good or bad receipt. What I've been doing is kind of create an environment for growth with a psychological safe situation where all the team members were actually in the position to fail and get supported when they fail, and also to have an innovative and entrepreneurial spirit in bringing in continuous changes to the process to make sure that our way of working is better and also more effective.
Fantastic. It's quite an example again of how I think we see the evolution more and more across various organizations of how the role of a legal counsel is indeed changing, right? And needs to flex continuously to stay in touch and in step with the organization, with the world around us that is fast-paced, very digital, and indeed, you know, it's a challenge, I think, for many of us to keep in step with that. But it's great to hear how you've approached that. I wanted to just pick up on the point that you've raised around the setup of the organization and indeed the sort of the business dynamics that your team is supporting. You mentioned that you and your team support both your business clients as well as your consumer clients. Again, two very different client groups that each have their own dynamics and demands. How do you balance that?
And I think it's very important for the team members to rotate to get a grasp of both the words, but of course then also the team members need to focus specifically, you know, on one of the two environments, since as you said, Peggy, they have very different needs. For example, I follow support to multinational customer, and they always required a bespoke negotiation of the template and on the clauses, while of course on the consumer side it's just more preparing terms and conditions, and so those terms and conditions must be clearer and simple as possible to make sure that the consumer customer really at a grasp understand what they are signing for, and also in order to avoid litigation at a later stage.
And it's really interesting and really fascinating for me how you have chosen to prioritize your consumer clients when you were looking at bringing in innovation into your contracts. It's so easy to say, look, we're going to focus on our business clients, high value, more complicated contracts. That's where your attention needs to go. But you've chosen deliberately to spend time and focus on your consumer clients. Tell us a bit more about how you've applied innovation into the contracting for your consumer clients.
Yeah, I must confess, Peggy, that this was the area where we needed to bring in more transparency, and this also was more effort effective to get huge benefit, because with the enterprise customer, as you said, it always requires a bespoke negotiation, while with the consumer customer, we have been able to structure a project and then get immediately the benefit all across the terms and conditions that the consumer clients are subscribing against Vodafone. What we noticed was that the terms and conditions for consumer service was basically drafted having in mind the judge, not really readable and of course full of legalese stuff. This was common practice among all the telco in Italy, and I think also outside Italy. So we wanted to be innovative and kind of applying the legal design principle on these terms and conditions.
Okay, so you were tackling, I guess, was it more from a marketing perspective that you wanted to address the user experience?
Yeah, it was a general shift of the organization toward transparency. And then also the marketing colleagues realized that the terms and conditions are actually a touch point of the brand versus the customer. So you cannot have only a very clean and transparent advertise on pricing where then you have terms and conditions which are not readable. So we have been able to leverage, let's say, also on the need of the marketing colleague to change the approach towards the customer, to make sure that we were also aligning our legal approach, let's say, towards the customer, taking the advantage of this new technique that were a lot discussed of legal design.
So legal design, help me and help our listeners understand what that means, and how did you go about the project and apply the legal design skills?
Yeah, legal design, in a nutshell, for what I understand it, is basically have in mind the different personas, i.e. type of person that will read the text. So if you are writing for a consumer, first you know who is your consumer customer, use a plain language, and then make an effort of understanding which are the information that should be presented first, because they are more relevant to the consumer, maybe leaving apart then all the information that you should give anyway, but are less important. Also, we wanted to be, I think, a little bit bold and kind of inserting some graphics, video stuff. But then in the end, we realized that, yes, the first persona we are looking at is the consumer customer, so we need to be transparent. But unfortunately, also the judge is a persona we could consider. No? So what we did is trying to strike a balanced approach between putting the information in the right way, summarizing, give very short highlights to the customer, or really the important key terms of the agreement, like, for example, the duration, of course, the price, but especially the penalties in case of early withdrawal from the airtime contracts. But of course, leaving some additional and expanded wording to make sure that if for any reason we were in the position to litigate with the customer, we did have a legal document that was supporting our ability to defend, let's say, litigation as well.
Right. So striking that balance between clarity of language, but also making sure that the contract was still tight enough. Worst case scenario, if you ended up in front of a judge, that you had your rights and also the consumer's rights and obligations protected, I guess, which is an interesting challenge, right? Because again, we are trained as lawyers to draft a contract to make sure that the protection is there all the time. And I think what you're highlighting is that you have challenged a very conventional and very traditional approach to drafting contracts. So you had that vision. How did you turn that into reality? Because again, it's easier said than done, right? To challenge that mindset and to then really redraft and restructure your contracts.
Yeah, correct. We have been watching outside, of course, the terms and conditions, especially of US and UK company, which at the time I'm talking about 4 years ago, were getting more and more simple. So we had this vision also inspired by what was happening on the market outside Italy. But we realized that we were too biased in mind in relation to what you said about being used to write legalese wording rather than plain language things. So we realized that we needed help from someone outside who could have a fresh look and bring a fresh look on our document. Actually, we had a team dedicated to user experience in the company, which is called the design studio. But of course, their time and effort were dedicated on the branding material and advertising. And we didn't have, unfortunately, as legal at that time, enough strength to kick in their agenda and gain priority, so gain their attention. So we had a very good relationship with Deloitte in Italy, especially with the Deloitte's branch, which is called Into Law, which is specialized basically in providing kind of external in-house expertise to a legal team to complement their ability to run a special project or meet the peak demand in the work. So we reach out to them and they show us what they did for other company. And it was great for us. So we said, yeah, let's start this journey together. And strange to say, but when the design studio realized that we brought Deloitte on board, they also wanted to play with us. So it has been something that has been extended to different people. And I think this combination of different angles and expertise allowed us to do a great work. Also, we were able to measure the result because we move using this index, which measured the readability of Italian text. Actually, our text could only be understood by university degree people, so not actually our average consumer. And we have been able to shift to an elementary school, let's say, basically reader, so gaining a lot of readability. And we also measure through tests and polls, let's say, the satisfaction of our clients of this new set of terms and conditions. And they have been very happy about this. It also helped to reduce our claim rate, because actually most of the claim, I think, were depending on the fact that actually it was not so evident to consumer customer what they were subscribing for. And with this, let's say, new documentation, it's actually more transparent and clean. So there's less need to litigate depending on the fact that the customer didn't realize what he or she was signing for.
That's so impressive. So let me just replay that, because I want to make sure that we've really understood the power of what you've done. So your terms and conditions for consumer clients, the readability index was requiring a university degree to understand what was captured, rights and obligations. By changing the layout, the use of plain Italian in your case, and the structure, I think, of how you position the clauses and the structure, the information, you move that readability index to one of primary school. Is that what you said?
Primary school, yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's a huge gain, yeah.
It's amazing. So really clear, really simple, everyone can understand. And as a further consequence, you have increased your customer satisfaction rating, and you have reduced the claims, so which is also impacting not just on obviously customer satisfaction, but also the cost for the company, right? Because running claims, going through that triaging of understanding, the causes of the claims, the process related to that is painful for the consumer, but it's a cost for the organization. So that's quite a big achievement on a big set of KPIs, Filippo. That's very impressive.
Yeah, correct. And not forgetting that now the document is really aligned to the brand perception that we want the customer to have. In the past, it was not like this, no? And so there was marketing, everybody was concentrating on ADV and marketing materials. Legal was considered not really something key for the entire process. But then the organization realized that this is key as well, no? And so we are being in a position actually to drive this change as legal.
It's so fantastic, and what an amazing example to show the value of contracts and the importance it plays within organizations, to understand and appreciate that a contract is as important and is a touch point with your clients as much as the marketing brochure or the nice TV advert. I think is really powerful, and probably I think a call to action to many organizations to follow your example.
Yeah, I am happy. And now it's a call also for us to do the same exercise in the business sector. So wait for it.
Exactly. Amazing. Yes. And again, it will require a different approach, because your business clients, what they need in terms of their satisfaction and that clarity and transparency is slightly different. But at the highest level, it's exactly the same, right? It's a touch point. Contracting is a touch point, and a very important one in establishing a relationship with your clients. So what an amazing showcase. So how is the organization now looking to you and your legal team having accomplished this?
I think the organization was trusting a lot already, the legal team, but of course the organization in general tend to see legal as a cost center rather than a function which is able to drive change or customer satisfaction. So this improved us, the reputation of the legal team. So the company started involving us more also in thinking and consideration about the overall end-to-end customer experience, rather than calling us only in developing new product or when problem arise.
Fantastic. And it's such an amazing example of how legal teams can challenge the status quo, can really move beyond, we've done it, always done it this way, and it has to be this way. I think this example really showcases that you can, with broadening your mind and thinking differently, that you can achieve really powerful outcomes. Thank you so much, Filippo, for sharing your example. I'm very inspired. And as I said, I think it's a call to action to all organizations, whether they're trading with consumer clients or indeed with business clients. And it's a call to action for many legal teams to think differently and embrace innovation.
So thank you, Peggy. It was a pleasure to discuss with you and to share with Grace the experience, who has been also powered by Deloitte, who helped us to achieve this great result. And maybe we could have another session of your podcast next year, where we will also have the chance to discuss the use of Gen AI and the trials that we are doing, especially in the business contract, which are more complex.
I would love that. I will definitely take you up on that, Filippo. And I thank you for your partnership and your trust in Deloitte. It's fantastic how we can collaborate and drive that change into the world of contracts. Thank you so much. And I will hold you to your invitation. We will speak soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.